28th of August, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Morning, Chodesh
Chodesh Tov.
Tov. Oh, Eliezer. Chodesh Tov.
Chodesh Tov.
You know, that's amazing. Now, they must have upgraded this system, because when I speak, the microphone gets colored as I speak. So I guess the louder I speak, the higher the green goes.
Oh, cool. Your voice is very clear and it doesn't look like you're leaning forward. So that's maybe an improvement.
Oh, maybe. Oh, Rabbi Furst is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Rabbi Furst.
And a good Chodesh.
Oh, good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Elizabeth. Good morning. How's everyone today?
Baruch Hashem.
Okay, very good to see you.
I got to duchen twice today.
Yeah, that's a big sucker for you, right? For sure. That's very good. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good morning, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here at Yeshiva Amanavshi Yerushalayim Care of Zoom. We're finishing up. We're doing a little bit more, 2 days more of the ramchal in derech Hashem on the Vua. Let's see. Eliezer 3. Did we send out an email to you as well? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
We can. Let's see. Lou, do you have access to the most recent email we sent out last week on with the new chapter from the ramchal?
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Thank you very much. And you'll have it there. And then I think that after we finish a few days here of the ramchal, I think it might be worthwhile spending some time with Shai Tshuva Rabbeinu Yonah in preparation for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, if everyone is agreeable, or if there's someone has a different suggestion. Yeah, can make a different suggestion.
Fine to me.
Fine. Okay. Very good. Definitely worth effort putting into the thing for Shai Tshuva is very sodas. Okay.
All right, Eliezer, I just emailed it to you.
Okie dokie. I will get it in a second then. Thank you.
You know, just as a refresher and a preface, the first chapter we were learning about, the ramchal was explaining the uniqueness of the experience of prophecy, that it's a direct communication with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, with the prophet, and the prophet sees and understands the prophecy clearly without any doubts as to what it is. There are nevertheless certain levels of prophecy, which definitely are expressed depending on the strength of the prophecy that Hashem wants to give the prophet, and also the nature of the prophet himself. So now the Ramchal goes into more details about the individual specifics of not only the prophecy itself, but also of the Navi, the prophet himself as well. So that brings us to, I think, the second paragraph with the base there. You see that? Any volunteers to do the reading here?
I volunteer.
Okay, if you like, you can go ahead.
Okay. Umama shetarich sheteda shehani lo yigia ha-nevi'ah el ha-madrega ha-a'lyona b'pam achas. So from what do we need to know that it's not yagia is it's not felt?
Doesn't achieve, no yagia doesn't achieve. Right? Among the things that are needed to know Hine lo yagia hanavi elamadrega elyona b'pamachas. Among the things you need to know is that the prophet doesn't achieve the highest level of prophecy all at once. I mean, it takes time to reach a high level of prophecy.
All at once. B'pam echad.
Right.
Okay. Aval ya'aleh mala achar mala. Rather, he increases level by level. Ad hagio al hanavi hanavua hashlema, until he achieves a complete prophecy. V'yesh b'davar. Pardon?
Right, very good. A complete prophecy. He doesn't achieve it all at once. It comes gradually.
V'yesh b'davar his lamdos kamo kol sha'ar hachachamos v'malachos. And there is a thing that he learns, like all other wise learnings. What is malachos?
Malachos are craft, like craft.
Craft, like any craft.
Like you have to have a certain level of apprenticement, just like you do with any other type of wisdom or craft. Before a person can become expert at something, he needs to have a certain training period.
Right. Sheyaleh ha'adam b'midrago sehen ad sheyamod al borin. That a person ascends or increases in his levels until that he stands. I don't know what this word borin is.
Buryan is to have mastery over something, right? Until he reached Sha'amud, he reaches a level of mastery.
V'zeh inyan b'nei ha-nevi'im. And this is the subject of prophets.
Actually, B'nei Nevi'im, like literally the sons of prophets. What's it supposed to mean, the sons of prophets? This is something which is mentioned in many different psukim, that they mentioned the phrase of B'nei HaNevi'im. What's this reference of? You usually think of a prophet as a prophet. What is a son of a prophet? What's that supposed to mean?
So usually I would translate B'nai in this context as in the category of a prophet.
Right.
Somebody who is called a prophet or is considered a prophet.
Right. See what the ramchal says.
Okay. Sheyu omdim lifnei hanavi'ah lehis lamed B'darchei ha-nevi'ah ha-nevu'ah ma shehi mitztarach lazeh. Okay, so that it is that he stands before prophecy, in front of prophecy, to learn the ways of prophets, what it is, what's mitztarach,
What you need. Tzricha.
that from which he needs in this.
What's required for this?
Yeah, to be a prophet. The tools you need to be a prophet.
Yeah, these B'nai Levim were those people who devoted themselves to being disciples of known, recognized prophets, to learn what was required to become a prophet. It was prophecy wasn't it was obviously very, very high madrega. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It was something that if a person wanted to pursue that as a life profession, he would devote himself to the ways of learning how to become a prophet. And there were ways then that were known and taught to people who would want to become prophets.
Okay, so based on that, how do we translate B'nai?
They would be like the apprentices of prophets. They weren't prophets themselves yet, but they were like prophets in training.
Ah, okay.
You call people B'nai Torah, right? B'nai Torah. They're not Talmidei Chachamim yet, right? But they're B'nai Torah. They're learning the things and aspects of Torah and the necessary requirements to become an expert in Torah and its learning, and they're called B'nai Torah.
Okay, v'hinei efshar sheyagia gilui mimenu yisbarach shemo. So it is possible to achieve a revelation from Hashem. Blessed is he. Blessed is his name.
Yeah.
Al Adam v'hu lo yakir bo kamo she yakir ha-neviah ella yach sheva ho ki im min ha mi or gashos. Okay, so al Adam, it's not for a man. V'hu and he is not yakir is proper.
Doesn't recognize.
Yeah.
He doesn't recognize.
He does not recognize.
He receives a message from Hashem and does not recognize it's a prophet. It's a nevuah.
Right. I'm not sure. This could be referring to almost anyone. I'm not sure.
Right. It sounds like you're talking about B'nai Nevi'im, that they're
Right.
not prepared. They're not prepared yet, and they might get a nevuah and not realize it as such.
Right.
But what's the word "al" doing at the beginning of this thought?
Two, it means two, not. It's two. To a person.
To a person who does not recognize it.
Right. Lo yakir bo kamo sheyakir hanavi. It's coming to him, this revelation from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and he's not recognizing it as a true Navi would recognize. A true Navi would understand what's happening to him because he's prepared for the experience, right? But a person who's not prepared for the experience, it could happen to him, and it would simply be an experience that he wouldn't realize it's being actual prophecy until some other time.
Okay. So Ella Yichshavahu, is that to think?
Yep.
Right.
Shava.
Rather,
Shava.
he thinks since it's from what is more gishos?
That's the senses.
The senses?
From regis, right? From regis. More gishos.
Oh, since it's from his senses,
And he thinks it's a physical experience he's undergoing, right? Right, because he knows really nothing about prophecy, so he thinks he's undergoing a physical experience. Okay? But it's really a prophecy, and a prophecy, as we learned in the first chapter, is exclusively a spiritual experience.
Right. So he gets this spiritual experience, and he misinterprets it and thinks that it's a physical experience.
Yeah, right. Like almost in the same way, a person can be having a dream. He thinks it's a physical experience, but it's really a spiritual experience. So that's the way it works in reverse. The person thinks he's really having this experience physically, but he'll realize it after he wakes up that it wasn't true. It was simply a dream, a spiritual experience.
Ad sheyigbor. What is yigbor?
Until it also overcomes him, the influx of prophecy, meaning it'll intensify so much that it'll finally realize that this is not a normal physical experience.
Okay. So he thinks it's a physical experience until it overwhelms him. The az yakir ha'inyan kamo shehu be'emes. And then he recognizes the matter that it is true. It is true.
Meaning, like the truth of the matter, realize the truth of the matter, that it's not a physical experience, but it's a prophetic experience that is happening.
Then he truly recognizes it.
Right.
Umin ha-min, uman ha-min, hazeh, kriya, hashem, lishmuel. And one from whom this is called Hashem.
An example of this, or a type of this, was as Hashem when Hashem called out to Shmuel.
Oh, I see. An example of this is like when Hashem called out to Shmuel, Shelo his nava mitechila velo shefa alav hashefa. That it was not a prophecy initially, and not the influence on the one who was influenced.
Right. You have a similar case also with Moshe Rabbeinu, meaning that by the sneh, right? By the sneh, so Hashem first approached the first approached Moshe Rabbeinu with the vision of the sneh on fire, right? And then slowly, the experience became more intensified.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to fit that into these words. The shefa alav hashefa is the intensification.
Shefa is the influence.
So it was not initially. It was not prophecy initially until it intensified.
Well, yeah, Shalom Hanis Be'ah, it wasn't prophecy initially. Lo Shefa La Hashefa, and it wasn't an influence in its full intensity. All right.
Ella, rather shenigla alav kol kikol morgash. Rather, it was revealed to him a voice like a voice. What's morgash?
More like a physical voice, right? That it's also almost similar to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, when the Kadosh Baruch Hu first called to Moshe Rabbeinu at the sneh, the voice that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose to call to Moshe Rabbeinu, the pasuk says Moshe, HaKadosh Baruch Hu called to Moshe twice using Moshe's name. The Medrash says, I'm not sure if maybe Rashi brings it down also, I've forgotten if it's Rashi, but certainly a Medrash, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu used the voice of Moshe Rabbeinu's father, right? Use that same voice as the voice of Moshe Rabbeinu's father, not to startle Moshe Rabbeinu, that he should adjust to the situation slowly and not be stunned by the full influx of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's speaking with him directly. So therefore, he first used the first two words he spoke with him. He said Moshe in the voice of Amram, his father, and he said again Moshe another time the voice of Amram, his father, and he said to him, his father is still alive. So he was already expecting for an unusual type of a situation to occur here, right? That his father should be calling him in the middle of this midbar. He was out there with the sheep in Midian. His father, he let us saw somewhere back there in Mitzrayim, at least a good 40. I think it was a good 40 years ago, right? So he was already now prepared for a very unusual encounter, and so when the Kadosh Baruch finally revealed himself in whatever way Moshe Rabbeinu was perceiving Kadosh Baruch at that point, but Hashem first initially called out to him with a voice that sounded like a physical voice, and not only that, it was a physical voice in the same sounding voice pattern as his own father, so he shouldn't be overwhelmed by the experience too quickly.
V'lo hasig b'zeh yoter, aval acher kach shefa alav hashefa v'hakir v'hasig hanevua b'darchei. So What is this word, hasig?
That means to achieve.
Achieve. He did not achieve this more so, but afterwards, the influence upon him influenced him to recognize and achieve prophecy in this way.
And at first, right? At first, it was only revealed to him as a voice, like a physical voice. Lois, he was a Yosin. He didn't realize anything more than this. He thought it simply that at that point it was simply a voice, a physical voice. After the influence intensified, by Yakir, he recognized the Yasik, he achieved Nevuah in the full sense, right? Okay, and then once he realized that this was actually truly a Nevuah, then he realized up until then and everything happening before then was actually part of the Nevuah as well.
So in other words, he looked back on it and realized that it wasn't the physical thing that he thought it was.
Right, but the reason why it was introduced to Shmuel at this particular point, because this was his first experience with prophecy, so as not to cause too much astonishment.
So was it likewise for Moshe Rabbeinu at the sneh?
That's the next paragraph. Look at the next paragraph. Exactly.
V'chein maras hasneh l'Moshe. And similarly, for Moshe at the sneh,
Right.
B'techila lo Nagila.
Nigla,
What?
Nigla,
Nigla. Lo Nigla, lo Ella ke mor gashos. So initially, from the beginning, it was not revealed to him except as a physical thing, or a hasneh be'or be'esh, when he saw the bush burning with fire.
Right. So now you could ask the question: Was there a real physical bush really physically on fire? How did you learn Chumash up until now?
Yes, it was.
the bush was in the fire, but it was not consumed.
Right. Or well, maybe it was just a vision that Moshe Rabbeinu was seeing. Maybe there was no physical bush, there was no physical fire. It was just a vision that Moshe Rabbeinu was seeing, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu made it real enough that he perceived it as being a physical bush, a physical fire.
Well, from what we just read, I would think that when he first saw it, he thought it was a physical fire. And then when he realized that it was a nevuah from Hashem, then he thought back and realized, oh, it must have been just a vision.
Well, not just a vision, but a vision.
Well, just a vision as opposed to physical fire.
You're,
It wasn't
I-
physical. It was a vision. He saw
Understating
what
it.
looked like a fire.
right. You're right. I think, Mayor, you're understating it. I think the fact that it was a vision, he realized it was a vision, he was getting it, that Hashem was talking to him when he saw a fire that was not consuming the bush. He says, hold it. This is weird. This is not normal to not see the bush consumed. And then he realized that Hashem was talking to him.
Right. I mean, it came in stages. First, it came in stages. First of all, he saw this vision. Now, whether it was a real bush or not, that's another story. I don't know. But he perceived something which Moshe Rabbeinu understood to be, through his sense impressions, to be a real bush, really on fire, which was a very unusual scene. When you look at all the picture books, they don't show you any smoke coming up out of the bush, do they? Just so fire coming out of the bush. They don't show you any smoke coming out of the bush, right?
Right.
Because smoke would mean something's being combusted, right? Something's being converted to carbon, right? So, but that wasn't happening. It was a fire. There's a bush, and there was a fire, right? And so Moshe Rabbeinu perceived this very unusual, paradoxical scene, and that obviously caught his attention. And he was in the astonishment of this scene. And then another stage goes by. Then he hears his name being called, Moshe, and it's the sound of his father's voice which is calling him. And it says it again, Moshe. See, here's the sound of his father's voice, who he left at least a good 40 years ago in Mitzrayim, and it would be a very unusual thing that his father would be out there in the same place where Moshe Rabbeinu was pasturing the sheep of Yisro in Midian somewhere, out in the desert by Har Sinai, right? So that also caused a certain disattachment of Moshe Rabbeinu's intelligence, his seichel, from his physical orientation. Meaning, Hashem wants to disassociate the prophet from his physical orientation. That's what we spoke about a lot in the first chapter. The prophet, in order to receive the prophecy, has to be disassociated from all his physical senses and functioning. Right. So to do that with a person who wasn't expecting it, who wasn't training for it all at once, could be a very shocking experience. So here, Kadosh Baruch Hu, both in the case of Shmuel, in the case of Moshe Rabbeinu, was doing it gradually. Okay. Continue.
V'hakadosh Baruch Hu karo b'kolo shel aviv.
Oh, here it says, it mentions it again also, right? Very good. Exactly.
And Hashem called with the voice of his father, Moshe's father, ach achar kach shefa alav hashefa v'hasig hanevua le'amita. Only afterwards was there the influence upon Moshe, which influenced him to achieve prophecy truly.
Right. Only afterwards, when the influence increased, intensified, and then he realized the prophecy in its truth.
Ve'olam yislamdu ha misla madim binavua be in nim yodoim. And he learned from this teaching.
However, however, those who are training themselves, right, to be prophets, the Moshe Rabbeinu, as for, I'm not sure, but apparently Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't really training to be a prophet. I don't think Shmuel was training to be a prophet, but Shmuel brought them and gave them prophecy. But those who are going to train to become prophets, right?
They have to know.
In Yonim Yidum, they have to have specific knowledge of. They have to have specific knowledge of things.
Is that saying that anybody can become a prophet through training?
Yeah. At the time when we had prophets, it was a well-respected profession. Yeah, definitely.
No, I understand.
heard that there were prophet schools.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
My impression had always been that a prophet got a revelation from Hashem that he was a prophet.
Right.
Okay, and not that any Joe Schmo off the street can say, "I want to be a prophet today, so I'm going to go to school and learn how to do it."
Right.
Um,
So again, in general, those who wanted to train for prophecy, they had to train to become prophets, and that's actually the other sefer, probably even more well known than derech Hashem, the Mesilas Yesharim, right? The ramchal sefer, which is probably, as I said, more known, probably better than even derech Hashem. That's based on the Bryce of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, right? So there in that brisa, it speaks about. I'll read it. It says, Torah maybe a day zirus. Torah brings to a person to a level of being careful over himself, and zirus maybe a day zirizus, and being careful over yourself brings you into a level of being eager towards Kadosh Baruch Hu and his mitzvahs. And zirizus brings you to nikiyas, to be cleansed from all types of sin, right?
Sure.
Bad midas. And nikiyas maybe named precious. That brings you to a level of aestheticism, from separation from the pleasures, unnecessary pleasures of this world. And precious maybe a day tahara. That brings you person to a level of purity. Tahara maybe a day chassidus. That brings a person to a level of piety. Chassidus may be a day another. That brings a person to a level of humility.
Of what?
Humility, another. Humility may be a day year is hate. That brings a person to a level of fear of sin. Year is hate may be a day kedusha. That brings a person to a level of holiness. The kedusha may be a ruach hakodesh, and kedusha brings a person to the level of ruach hakodesh. So Ruach HaKodesh is the lower level of prophecy, right? Ruach HaKodesh is amazing. And finally, Ruach HaKodesh will bring a person to a level that he can bring a life to the dead. So this was a brisa, and this is the way that people would train, right? Would train to be prophets. Again, whether a person going through the whole training period and then whether Hashem will actually pick them to make them prophets and to just give them prophecy, that's another thing. That's up to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? That it's not necessary person can't demand to have prophecy.
Mhm.
But,
Right.
but they have to be ready to receive it. In order to be ready to receive it, so then they have to train, and that was the basic path that they followed. And
Okay.
it was a lifetime type of a path. And yeah, like Lou mentioned, there were schools of Nevi'im, and like we have yeshivas today, they had the yeshivas for prophets. Now, not everybody wanted to be that extreme. Some people were happy to just take care of their farm and milk the cows and do all and keep all the rest of the mitzvahs, but they were happy, people weren't interested in all that. And, there are different types of people, and but those people wanted to try and perfect themselves as much as possible. They tried to achieve this. Yeah, there could be certain cases as in the first paragraph, that sometimes a person may be given prophecy even if he hadn't been prepared and training for it. And Hashem still shows him that was prophecy. That could be a particular case where Hashem makes exceptions. And in general, those who were training for it would receive their prophecies. And the prophecies, and again, there were ways to elicit the prophecy, meaning if you remember in Tehillim, there are two. There's Mizmor LeDavid and Mizmor David and the David Mizmor.
Right.
It means two different things. When David and Melech would be having a influx of Ruach HaKodesh, so it would be David Mizmor, or if David tried and was successful in arousing that he should reach a level of Ruach HaKodesh, so then it was the opposite expression. So David sometimes would get an influx of Ruach HaKodesh, sometimes he would want to bring the Ruach HaKodesh upon himself. Right? So that was a possibility. That was a possibility. Okay. Let's see. Let's try and finish. We're in the middle. Let's see. Let's try a few more lines, okay?
Okay. Ma she yimshich shiyamshich aleihem hashefa v'ha'elyon. That which he utilizes from the influence from on high.
Yeah, meaning we actually, I think the first couple of lines we skipped out, or maybe it says v'yivato mi'ius choimer haguf. He first has to bring the nullification of the physical barriers of the body. Yimshich gilui oro is barak, and to bring upon himself the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. And to connect with it, to join with it.
Okay, so these are the things that he's doing to bring upon himself the influence from on high.
Right, correct. So the first and foremost thing that they have to do is to bring some kind of a nullification of the body, the physical body that he lives in. He has to nullify that influence of the physical body. I mean, the more that the body is, the more that he has an attachment to the body and the needs of the body, the less he's going to be able to receive this influx. That's why when Moshe Rabbeinu went to receive the Torah, right, he was fasting and not eating, not drinking, not sleeping for 40 days and 40 nights, because he had to achieve a complete nullification of all physical existence.
Right.
Okay, yeah, maybe I don't want to go too far over. We'll maybe start with the beginning of this paragraph tomorrow, Mitzvah. Okay, in the meantime, we'll take a break. We're in the middle now of learning some halachas relevant to lulav, and if you want, you have Eliezer Tzvi and Kalik Vav with the Mishnah Berurah. We'll be continuing with that.
What Simon?
We were learning in Siman Tuf Reish Nun Aleph.
Okay, let's see if I have it.
Reish
Thank
Nun.
you.
Okay, see you all in a few minutes, Mitzvah Hashem.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. See you soon.